January 1978, northern Montana frontier, at night during a violent winter storm. Wide cinematic aerial shot of an isolated ranch surrounded by endless snow-covered plains. Wind howls across the landscape at nearly 40 miles per hour, driving powdery snow in long streaks across the ground. A small log cabin sits on a rise, while a weathered wooden barn stands nearby. Warm yellow light leaks faintly through thin cracks between the barn's old planks, glowing against the dark blue night. The sky is heavy with storm clouds and blowing snow. The scene is lit by moonlight and lantern glow, realistic historical setting, cinematic fantasy realism style. Slow camera push toward the lonely barn. Interior of a large wooden ranch barn in northern Montana. Winter 1978. Medium-wide shot slowly panning across dusty beams and rough plank walls as wind rattles the structure outside. Snow blows through tiny gaps in the siding. In the center stands a small, corrugated steel Quonset-style tunnel structure built inside the barn, glowing warmly from kerosene lamplight. Vernon Hadley, a rugged 42-year-old rancher wearing worn denim, wool shirt, and work boots, stands beside a small barrel stove feeding a piece of dry pine into the fire. His breath no longer fogs in the warm air. The steel walls reflect soft orange light. Cinematic lighting and slow camera dolly around the warm shelter. Daytime flashback. A rural Montana ranch in late autumn 1977. Wide establishing shot showing Vernon Hadley examining an old surplus. Quonset hut frame lying beside a dismantled equipment shed 2 valleys away. The landscape is dry prairie turning pale under approaching winter clouds. The metal arches of corrugated steel lie stacked on frozen ground. Vernon, wearing a canvas work jacket and wool cap, studies the curved steel pieces thoughtfully, while another rancher leans against a pickup truck nearby. Late afternoon sunlight casts long shadows across the field. The camera slowly circles the stacked metal arches, emphasizing their curved shape and simple construction in a realistic historical cinematic style. Inside Vernon's barn during construction, November 1977 in northern Montana. A wide shot from high barn rafters, looking down at Vernon, assembling the Quonset structure in the center bay. Corrugated steel arches are bolted together, forming a half-cylinder tunnel about 12 by 20 feet. Dust floats in beams of pale daylight leaking through the wooden siding cracks. Vernon, wearing work gloves and denim overalls, tightens bolts with a wrench while tools lie scattered across the dirt floor. The barn's massive hand-hewn beams tower overhead. Camera slowly cranes downward toward the forming steel shelter, highlighting the contrast between rough wood and shining metal. Interior close-up of the finished Quonset shelter inside the barn during early winter evening. 1977. The small, curved steel room glows warmly from a kerosene lantern hanging along the ridgeline. Simple cot, wooden shelves, and a compact barrel stove fill the space. Sawdust insulation is visible beneath wooden planks on the floor. Outside the metal shell, the barn remains cold and shadowy. Vernon stacks dry firewood neatly along the barn wall, where snow cannot reach it. Camera slowly pans across the curved steel ribs and warm orange reflections, emphasizing the tight, efficient living space designed to survive harsh Montana winters. Interior of a rural Montana diner in early winter 1977, medium shot capturing several ranchers in thick coats in cowboy hats sitting around a wooden table laughing and drinking coffee. Through frosted windows, the snowy prairie is visible. One man gestures mockingly while describing Vernon's strange steel tunnel shelter. The room is lit by warm tungsten lights and smells of coffee and wood smoke. The camera slowly tracks past the group, capturing amused expressions and skeptical smiles. Authentic 1970s rural details, including flannel shirts, denim jackets, and worn leather boots, create a historically accurate atmosphere. January 9, 1978 blizzard beginning across the Montana plains. Wide cinematic landscape shot showing violent wind whipping snow across open fields and ranch buildings. Fence posts vanish beneath growing drifts while dark storm clouds swallow the sky. A herd of cattle huddles near a fence line while a farmhouse struggles against the wind. Snow slams sideways against wooden walls. The camera slowly sweeps across the white landscape as visibility drops. Harsh cold atmosphere, late afternoon light fading into gray storm darkness. Realistic historical environment rendered in highly detailed cinematic fantasy realism. Interior of Vernon's Quonset, sheltered during the peak of the blizzard. Night of January 10, 1978. Close interior shots showing Vernon sitting on his cot wearing only a white t-shirt, while calmly feeding a single piece of dry pine into the glowing barrel stove. The small curved steel walls reflect steady orange firelight. A thermometer hangs from a steel rib reading about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Outside the thin metal walls, the barn creaks under powerful wind gusts. Camera slowly rotates around Vernon as he writes temperature notes into a small notebook on a plank table, capturing the calm warmth inside the shelter. Contrast scene inside another ranch house in the same Montana valley during the blizzard of 1978. Medium. Wide shot of a struggling family kitchen lit dimly by a smoking wood stove. Ed Larson, a tired rancher in heavy layers of clothing, tries to ignite wet firewood while snow piles against the windows outside. The room temperature is cold and breath fogs in the air. A thermometer on the wall reads barely above freezing. Wet logs hiss and steam before catching flame. Camera slowly pushes toward the struggling stove fire, emphasizing the harsh conditions faced by most families during the storm. Morning after the storm breaks in mid-January 1978, bright winter sunlight reflects off deep snowdrifts across Vernon Hadley's ranch in northern Montana. A snowmobile approaches the barn where Vernon stands outside, splitting wood and rolled up shirt sleeves. Frost clings to distant fence lines, and the sky is a sharp, clear blue. The camera tracks alongside Ed Larson as he steps into the barn, revealing the silver Quonset shelter glowing warmly in the center. Vernon opens the small wooden door, and warm air pours out. Close-up of a thermometer inside reading about 68 degrees as Ed stares in disbelief.